be an airdrop round, double airdrops, and like you said, here we go, man. Before we head into Space City, it's going to be a lot of fun. Who is going to walk away with the most, and will we see a shakeup in our top three?
Yeah, what's the strategy in round three for Brakkesh? Do you go for kills? Do you go for loot? Do you go for some combined strat? It's time for this map, and I am so pumped to see it yet again. This time with the stakes certainly high, it's just a question mark of, hey, what's your strategy on this one? Because that is going to dictate everything. Now, quick look. We came in about 30 seconds late, so you see that the actual T1 spawns were ESG and Ink. Talk about an utter unlucky spawn choices thus far for ESG. They get a T1 spawn on a non-brick round.
I know.
You will not see ESG on a T1 spawn in the next map on Space City for the first time. They've got to fight tooth and nail. Yes, in second place, but they are getting a little bit unlucky with these spawns. You see the rest of those teams, obviously a quick shout. Legit Brazil, LEG, and NBA both got Tower of Babel. NBA is getting everything they want and more. And then MG's over in camp as Ink, instead of pushing for Museum and T1 spawn, they went up to towards Hotel on the northwestern side of the map.
And just to highlight, by the way, as unfortunate as ESG spawns have been, the fact that they're still in second place shows how great they can be when they have to face against adversity and things are not going their way. They're still a very dominant team that must be respected. So I like it, I do. Again, you know, things not going their way, no worries. They're still in second place. It comes to show how strong they truly are.
Quick look at the loadouts on the left-hand side, and of course the operator choices. Wow, every single team, by the way, using Hat Claw this round. And that also means that every single team, I think besides one, will have all of their Hat Claws off the table. We saw a quick look at that operator selection choice, that chart before this, and we had seen every team already use a Hat Claw. All the Hat Claws are going to be off the table besides one team. I'll have to get a quick read on which team still has one. We'll see that after this game. But that's the thing that sticks out to me most. ESG coming in with some nice high-value loot. They're bringing in some red gear to make sure they can have an advantage in some of the fights on this map. They're trying to separate themselves from the rest of the pack, and I think ESG is going to get pretty offensive. They're going to get pretty aggressive from Museum, the center part of the map.
And I do believe for NBA using Suniva, this is going to be the second time they use them, which means they're not going to be able to use them for the next remaining maps. Interesting that they use Suniva not only here, obviously, on Brakkesh, but also for the earlier Zero Down. So clearly prioritizing Suniva whenever it comes down to the airdrop rounds. So well done coming out for Boldo NBA. Can't wait to see what they do. They do get blessed once again. Now the question is, can they take LEG on, who have been on fire, and also MG might be rolling in too.
Yeah, also worth mentioning, LMG meta, folks. We've got Mantle Brick Addiction running triple LMGs. We've got ESG, double LMGs, PKMs to be exact, and a P90 for the side of their entry fragger, Layun. So be fun to watch out for the heavy-hitting bullet hose that is the PKM. You know, they're strong weapons, especially in customs, if you can catch your opponent unaware. A look at Ghost, ISG. They've been a bit in the blender the last couple maps. Opportunity to turn the tide of favor back in their hands. They could do it. They're going to find some early engagements that go their way, and they're going to actually likely be fighting Ink first. Ink, again, got a T1 spawn, pushed up to Hotel, then moved over kind of to the south side of Market, where they've got a power position. They can look at Museum. They can also look back at Market, knowing there's a couple teams in the area. Well, it does look like off-screen, what you guys don't see, is MG rotated all the way down into the Tower of Babel. We've got 3 teams in the Tower of Babel, 3 teams in the center of the map, and the first shots are being fired between ISG and Ink, as expected.
ISG, Ink, of course, 3 people, or 3 teams over in the Tower of Babel. Things are getting active, and to be expected being an airdrop round. But again, I want to highlight the bubble. LEG versus Ink. LEG needs to jump up. They need to take over that top 3 position to make them feel very comfortable going, or at least a little bit more comfortable heading into the next Mantle Brick rounds. Marino is going to find at least a gold bar worth 329. That's going to be great from him. That's going to help, especially with the narrative that I was just setting. For ISG, though, taking a bit of a fight from a distance, taking some damage, he'll be forced to back away. Ink, one of the other rosters outside of NBA to rock a Suniva. That's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play an impact in this fight against ISG.
You can see it in the picture there, production showing that MG has crept into the Tower of Babel like I was mentioning. 3 teams in the tower. Ink on the rotation out on the main stage right now. ISG trying to get a feel for where they're at. ISG has pushed up to the building that Ink was originally looking at, but Ink has pushed down even further south, maybe taking a look at Museum. Could see ESG and Ink start shooting, and again, Ink in a weird spot. being theoretically pinched between two teams, but they do have an exit strategy back to hotel. They know for probably 95% certainty, nobody's behind them on the hotel side. So if they do feel the pinch between the two teams, theoretically they could move. Again, if it is going to be a pinch, it's going to be between, it's really going to be ISG setting the pinch. ESG is not going to be moved from Museum anytime soon. So we move towards Tower of Babel. And legit Brazil looking for some loot. This is pretty standard, by the way, for Game 3. You don't see hyper-aggressive plays in this map. There's not a mantle brick to play for. Probably see some fights happening around the airdrops here in a couple minutes. But a couple teams sharing this massive spot on the map for the Tower of Babel. Eventually we'll have to clash heads, and it could be fairly soon.
Crystal ball is kind of coming out here.
Oh?
Well,
Crystal ball.
Hey, it's coming out, baby. Make a prediction. I'm thinking NBA wants to get a little scrappy with ESG. They've got nothing to lose. Look.
True.
Knocking ESG out, right? I mean, obviously it's going to take a lot more than just knocking them out here, given that they do have quite a bit whenever it comes to the Technic Alloy. They're in second place, I believe, what, 10 million or around there anyways?
Yeah.
Or 9.4, or it should be 10.58. But you knock them out, somehow, some way they finish outside of top 3. You don't have to deal with ESG in the upper bracket. Come on. That's like best case scenario for them. Now they just got to worry about Q9 falling, as well as gold and silver.
Yeah, we got plenty of games to play still, but you're right. Interesting fight. And again, like you can see now that we've seen most of the Tower of Babel, you don't see that salmon or pink MBA anywhere in Tower of Babel anymore. They have absconded, and they have moved all the way to the north side of the map. We can see where that airdrop is now. You can see that ISG and Ink on the south side of the market, and MBA has wrapped. So briefly, I think, in that picture, NBA is wrapped all the way up to hotel, while these two teams on your screen right now hear each other's footsteps, and they're just lying in wait.
Very slow indeed, but like you said, standard. Already dropped just yet, but it will happen. Onigiri, we're going to set the trap. Zip is being used. LEG has managed to traverse to the left side of the new Tower of Babel. LEG Marino is going to be keeping, of course, MG at bay just up ahead. Buddy getting too desperate just yet. Now we do have something potentially developing here. It's going to be ISG and Ink, who are still relatively close to each other. Had a bit of a standoff. I think they're acutely aware of where they are, but I do see Wada is going to start to move up a little bit. Fu Zhang, just like he did in the Mandelbrick round number 2, is going to be by himself, potentially looking to make a bit of a flank and allow DT Leun to go ahead as a duo to the left-hand side, Fu Zhang maybe to third party and disrupt the Ink as well as ISG fight that might be taking place.
Yeah, Suniva operator there. We talk about Suniva and how valuable they can be in CQB fights. The other thing that they are very helpful on is that you can take peeks. You can take your shield and peek windows and get some info without risk of likely dying. So it'll be fun to watch what Ink does with that bit of information. But here's a look at Mandelbrick Addiction. Talk about a rotation. They have moved all the way up here to hotel, like we had mentioned. And now the closest team to them is actually ESG. We were just mentioning they've moved out of museum, or at least 2/3 have.
Well, Fu Zhang still stays, though.
Yeah, and NBA is doing the Dr. Prometheus extraction mission. Theoretically walk with Prometheus down to the helipad. But again, this is these non-Mandelbrick, I almost said Mandelbrick Addiction rounds. It feels that way.
it has been.
These non-Mandelbrick rounds
It has been.
can be very slow.
Yes.
Because teams don't want to risk losing their loot. They all want to extract. And they know the value that loot will have, too. This is a pretty important piece to the puzzle.
ISG should be free and clear to get the airdrop, which is going to be wonderful for them. Curious what they're going to be able to get. They don't want to fully commit, obviously, thinking somebody else is going to be around. I mean, how often do you just get a free airdrop?
Oh, okay, we take that. Some gold armor and a lamp. Nice value. Oh, wait, no, radio count, too. See their loot value jump up pretty dramatically from that, up to 1.5 mil now. And maybe a little bit more. Yeah, there's a couple more journals. Oh, nice. Got a CD as well. That's 229K and a champagne bottle. 336. All right, getting paid. Nice airdrop.
Nice airdrop indeed, and for free. Right? You didn't have to risk anything. You didn't have to overcommit. You just walk up, take it for yourself. Question is, now do you get out? Do you want to stay? Well, I guess it depends on where they're at on the leaderboard. When it comes down to it, I believe they're currently at the bottom. They had 2.7, so they do need to catch up a bit. 3 million will put them in the running for top 3. That's just before any of the profit from this round here, from the assets obtained. So maybe they do got to fight it out. I think for ISG, it's not enough. Well, maybe it is.
They're getting out.
They're getting out. They need to leave one player behind, in my opinion.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, they might. I mean, we still got 10 minutes on the clock. ISG kind of full running to the northern extraction point. We've got a map. You can see it now on main stage a little bit there. ISG's played now the most northern side of the map. Everybody just holding down in their buildings. It's so funny, you know, in this round, Taylor, to kind of compare this round versus the last.
It's polar opposite, isn't it?
Because Group A was pretty much even across the board, right? We had pretty much all of the maps in Group A had a decent amount of action. There wasn't anything quite this slow, but there also wasn't anything quite as insane as what we saw last map. So it's been fun to see how these groups differ. This is the question I was asking kind of between the two rounds. This has been a lot of fun, but this one feels like a National Geographic episode.
Oh, wait, I think we're finally going to have our first shots. LEG, Envy. Now I can't get that out of my mind. It's like, do I cast it like National Geographic? I think I want to save the entire audience and chat on that. Onigiri, though, this is a beautiful off angle. Once LEG does get active, I think he's got a great line of sight onto HF, who has to stay down. Onigiri is going to take him out easily. Envy repositions. Question is, when do you take these shots? They are acutely aware of where they're at, but no one wants to fire just yet. Airdrop is going to be coming down, by the way, and that should be over towards ESG. But granted, NBA, you see Buldo scouting it out. Does NBA want to maybe challenge this? But you also have ISG just behind them. There's layers.
Yeah, here's the first couple fights in the small picture there on your screen. You're right, Buldo getting the first look.
Why doesn't he shoot it? He can connect. Oh.
I mean, look at on main though. Look at MG. If Onigiri just positions,
I know,
slightly in the corner of that window.
Yeah,
that is insane. ESG is able to get the AWM.
Here we go.
Here comes the Lapua ammo, but here's the first shot. Didn't know he was here. Look at Brazil. They were insanely patient. The trigger discipline from legit Brazil is something to commend, man.
Holy.
That was insane patience on the slowest of maps. And I can just say, I can hear their words in my brain. MG saying, those rats. They were sitting there for how long? Those rats.
There's no way. So Onigiri had no idea.
No, he had no clue.
He had no clue.
No,
I thought
no
for certain he kept aiming at HF.
No, he had no idea. They were
crazy.
ratting in that corner for like 5 minutes.
Wow.
Insane. Hey, it pays off, man. That's 1.2 mil they
Yes.
Plus the loot they're going to pick up from
Right.
those bodies. A huge gain. I mean, obviously you can see it on the left-hand side of your screen now. This is from this map alone. Legit Brazil jumps all the way up to 3.7 mil, looting the bodies of their opponents, getting those kills. A nice win for them. Just a quick look. It's another team in the corner of your screen, but ISG on main right now, trying to figure out what do we want to do from here. 6 minutes on the clock, and NBA down below us.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe during that fight that we were, kind of watching, setting up for the longest time, I think ESG did get the drop, and if I'm not mistaken, they did get an AWM.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I quick shouted that out before, but it's a great reminder because they could use it to play for this extraction point near the middle of the map. Reminder, it does look like you can see Ink trying to get out of the map, and Ink is going to leave. At least Baby B is, and I think it's just Baby B going to leave. A traditional strategy, especially from our North American regions, but most teams will do this. They send all of their loot out with Baby B.
Yep.
Too easy, kills all. They stay on the map. Ink is now looking to get active with the last 5 minutes of this map. They are looking to pick up some kills.
For NBA, still around the area of ESG, they chose not to challenge just yet. They skirted just close on the outskirts of ISG. They've been next to ESG. Nothing's happened.
Yeah, and NBA is taking that Dr. Prometheus helipad out. The Doctor's helipad, they're going to rotate all the way down the southwestern side of the map.
You saw cut him off, though.
Yeah, you can see him. Look at him. They're running Prometheus to his helipad right now. And LEG has spotted Prometheus, so he knows that there's a team out here trying to do this, and they could play for it. There's Boldo with Siniva trying to get some info for the team.
So LEG does take over the spots where just a little bit earlier MG was hanging out before the trap was sprung. It's going to be a hard transition for NBA. It made it even more difficult if ESG does decide to get involved themselves. Fu Zhang, always interesting watching him on the minimap and seeing where he's at, where he decides to roam around. But for LEG, this could be a big moment for them. They've already had a great game, mind you, right? 3.9 million so far. Could profit even more depending on how this fight against NBA decides to go. Do you lead with the Suniva, though, if you're on the side of NBA? Lead in, maybe bait some shots, have an opportunity to get an early pick.
Yeah, I mean, they were before, just getting some info, but legit Brazil, we know that they are extremely patient, so I'm sure they're going to wait it out here. They know that NBA is going to try to make a play for this helipad, so they know exactly where they're trying to go, which is a huge boon in this fight. ESG still playing that middle central extraction point to the north side of the Tower of Babel, just barely off your screen. You can see one member of ESG in the minimap. If you look top left, you also see the two members of Inc. starting to come get involved. Reminder, the two players on Inc., they have nothing to lose. They sent all their valuable loot out with Baby B. They are going for kills. You should see some shots here on this extraction point shortly. Inc. knows only where some of the players are. They know that some players have to be playing for this extraction point, so that's what they're sprinting towards. Inc. about to be in the mix, and NBA trying to figure out what the heck are we going to do. They're making a run for it. D-Wolf, exoskeleton activated. We are sprinting, and legit Brazil maybe got distracted for a brief moment as they're playing for the extraction point as well. ESG, legit Brazil now fighting, and NBA says, okay, sounds good. We're going to get out of this map. Thank you.
And they managed to do so, and now you got to think about the center zone. Things start to get interesting as DT will take down Wada. ISG loses one. Fu Zhang is also going to answer on the off angle. Tamizo is going to take down DT. Trades left and right. Fu Zhang comes in strong and takes down a couple of players on the side of LEG. LEG stayed up for the longest time, but eventually they will fall flat.
ESG, a huge wipe, but job's not done. We've only got a couple seconds left on this extraction, 18 to be exact, and counting. And it's Inc. coming to play spoiler. ISG trying to do what they can, but Killzall with the Suniva says, not today. That's another kill. Inc. doing exactly what they wanted on this map. They're here to play spoiler, and they are picking up kills and transition. But there are 4 seconds on this extraction. ESG's trying to get out. Can they get out without getting punished? Yes.
Nice.
All of ESG extract, and they do it with an AWM. DT gets a knock. He opens up the fight for his team. They clean up the fight. They pick him up, and they get out. Best case scenario for ESG. They may not have won the map entirely, but they're likely going to have the top score from the map because of what they were able to accomplish in the last couple seconds. A big boon, but I will tip my hat to the 2 members of Inc. that played spoiler on ISG, cutting them completely down, and now just stacking up those safe boxes with anything they can get their hands on.
ISG, LEG, MG all out for Inc. Only 2 players up. One has already been extracted. NBA still hanging around, should get out unscathed, depending about too easy. Look at him starting to move up, but you got to think NBA's got all angles covered. It's not going to be easy for Too Easy to play spoiler at all, and he doesn't have a lot of time to do so.
Yeah, Too Easy's got to make a decision right now. He can say, hey, we got our 2 kills. I'm going to take these ID tags and get out of the map. I think that's what he's deciding to do. Or he could have played hyper aggro and tried to chow a team on one of the only other extraction points on the map, which would have been that helipad. You can pay attention. Look at the timer in the top left-hand corner. That extraction, 36 seconds in counting before they can get out, and 1:15. They did it just in the nick of time. That mission completed so they can get out of the map. NBA is going to be the only other team that likely all 3 get out of the map. Too Easy will get out with 2 ID tags. I'm not sure Killzall can follow. We'll see. I don't think he's got enough to get out as well, so Killzall's likely running to the Tower of Babel just to stack up his safe box with anything he can get his hands on.
Yeah, it's still a big game for Inc. though. I mean, look, they managed to get away with quite a bit. Even if they do lose a little bit off that 3.7 million, the fact is they were already top 3. They outlasted LEG, they outlasted MG as well as ISG. Perfect scenario for themselves going into what could be the last remaining map, right? So we're going into another Mandelbrick round. With the way NBA has been playing, I mean, quite literally flawless. They've only been eliminated once, but who cares? They got the Mandelbrick in return.
Yeah, and on a non-Mandelbrick round, All 3 of them get out. That is insanely impressive. The same feat that ESG just pulled off. And frankly, again, Inc., really well done. They executed their plan. They get a couple kills. They send one out with the majority of their loot. And Easy gets out too via the ID extraction. A huge boon for Inc. They're going to jump up this leaderboard. They're playing for a top 3 position, and they're playing pretty well.
Played very, very well indeed. An excellent map. It started off a little bit slow, but it did have some great moments. For example, MG, right, the trap was set and it was sprung, and when it was, those corner campers sometimes are frustrating, especially if you're the ones getting taken out by them, but for MG, well done indeed. You got to give Eat credit, again, getting out in the way that they did. They were already top 3. They hold on to what they got. Then you look on the opposite side, and you've got Brick Addiction just playing flawlessly. They refuse to budge, even though they don't win this map. But they've already pretty much solidified their spot in the upper bracket.
Yeah, it was a really interesting decision. Legit Brazil was stuck kind of between a rock and a hard place. They were holding Brick Addiction from being able to extract, which is obviously a great position to be in. The problem is, on their south side, ESG was on the extraction point. And Legit Brazil was like, well, we got to try to get out of the map, and ESG's breathing down our necks. We got to make a play for this. And unfortunately, Legit Brazil couldn't.
Beautifully, beautifully done. It's going to be a lot closer when it comes to round earnings. This time around, DSG will be the top earner with 4 eliminations, Inc. just below them, followed by NBA. Quite literally, your top 3 teams giving a top 3 performance. For ISG, LEG, MG, they've got to improve because now things start to get serious. As I said, the tournament, or excuse me, match B could end in the next map. So, next game has to be impactful for them. We take a look at our damage stats, and we don't have any big towers this time around. Everything's been relatively even.
I think this is 100% correct. Brick Addiction, I don't think tagged a single player on that map. They have 0 damage, according to this graph.
Actually, yeah, because they were just
didn't
by. Yeah, they were next to ISG. They were right next to ESG.
They're padding
never
stats.
fired a shot.
Hey, it works for them. I mean, they didn't get a kill, but they get out of the map. They keep their loot. They're just padding the stats so that if somebody else gets a mana brick, they can make sure that they're the top team. Now, ESG, the best team on that map, absolutely. Top loot by a small margin, most kills by a decent margin. 4 total kills and 2.55 million. ESG, this is the team we were expecting. Very clean game from them. They're in a good position in the top 3, but they're not running away with it. And frankly, they're not even in the lead, like we've mentioned. We'll see what they're able to do in the next Brick round for sure.
Let's take a look at our map MVP. I have to think it's Fujang, and
Yeah,
it will
nice.
be Fujang. Yeah, I mean, come on, it makes sense. Again, he was a terror against LEG. He was mowing players down with the LMG and doing it in a beautiful fashion. 233 damage, 3.0 KD. Really instrumental in why ESG is so successful in getting out extracting with the AWM. Well done, Fujang. Becoming a big fan of him. I love players who get the off angles, who love to go